Hello. In this video we are going to take a look at solving some inequality equations. So our first one, we have x over 19 is greater than or equal to 1 minus x over 38. Now you can work with these fractions just as they are, but many students get a little intimidated by fractions or tend to make more mistakes when fractions are involved. And so we can get rid of the fractions here by multiplying through this inequality with the least common denominator. So in the denominator we have really three fractions that we're looking at here. We've got x over 19, we have 1 over 1, and we have x over 38. So our LCD here is going to be 38. That is the smallest number that all three of those go into. And so we're going to multiply each of these terms by 38. Do not forget to multiply that whole number by 38. You want to make sure and multiply each term. So 38 divided by 19, that is going to reduce to 2. And so on the left-hand side of this inequality, we're going to have 2 times that x that's in the numerator. For our first term, we've got 1 times 38 is 38. And then for our last term, we have x over 38 times 38. Those 38s are going to divide out, and we'll be left with minus x. All right, now just like solving an equation, we want to make sure and get all of our x's on one side and everything that doesn't have an x on the other side. So we're going to add x to both sides. We get 3x is greater than 38. And then our last step, we want to divide by our coefficient of 3 here. This 3 is a positive number. Remember, we only flip this direction of our inequality sign if we multiply or divide by a negative. This one is a positive 3, so when we divide by 3, it's going to stay, our sign's going to stay the same. It's still going to be a greater than or equal to. 38 over 3 does not reduce. So that would be our inequality form of our solution. Or if we are looking for the interval notation on that, if x is greater than 38, that means it's going to be to the right on a number line. So 38/3, we want the x's that are greater than, so we're going to shade to the right. Since we do have an equal to there, that means that we're going to have a closed circle or a square bracket. And so in interval notation, that will be square bracket 38/3 all the way to that arrow on the right, which represents infinity. So our solution is 38/3 to infinity. All right, our next example, this one's actually a compound inequality, meaning we've got 3 pieces. We've got -3 on the left is less than, we have 3x minus 2 over 3 in the middle, and that is less than 0. So we've got 3 pieces here. We're going to treat this just like we did the previous example. What we do to one side, we do to all 3 sides. And if we want to get this x by itself, we can multiply everything by our LCD. We have a 3 in the denominator there, so if we multiply everything by 3, on the left-hand side, we have -3 times 3 is -9. In the middle, we've got a fraction, and so that 3 is going to divide out with a 3 in the denominator, and we're going to be left with that numerator of 3x minus 2. And then on the right-hand side, we have 0 times 3, which is still going to be 0. And then we're going to add 2 to all sides to get rid of that 2 that's in the middle. So when we add 2, we're going to get -7 on the left. We'll have 3x in the middle, and adding 2 to 0, we get 2 on the right. And then our last step is to divide everything by that coefficient on x. Again, this one's a positive coefficient, so we will be dividing by positive, so we're going to leave the signs as they are. We'll have 7/3 is less than x is less than 2/3 when we divide everything by 3. So if we were to put that on a number line, you always want to make sure and put your numbers in numerical order. The smaller, most negative one on the left and the larger, most positive one on the right. And then we want the x's that are bigger than -7/3, so we're going to be shading to the right of that, and smaller than 2/3, so we'll be shading to the left of that number. So that means we want the shading in the middle. Both of these are strictly less than, so we're going to have parenthesis or open circles on our graph. And so our shading starts at -7/3, and that has a parenthesis on it, and it goes all the way to 2/3, which also has a parenthesis on it. You can pay attention, you can have one greater than or equal to and one strictly greater than, or vice versa, in which case you would have a square bracket on whichever side you have that equal to possibility. All right, next example again is a compound inequality. We've got 1 is less than 5 minus 1/4 x is less than 7. So on this one again, we want to isolate that x. So let's subtract 5 from both sides. So 1 minus 5 is -4. 5 minus 1/4 x minus 5 is going to be a -1/4 x. And 7 minus 5 is 2. And then we want to get this x by itself. So to get this x by itself, we need to multiply everything by that negative, or divide everything by -1/4, or multiply by a positive one, or sorry, a negative 4. Sorry, I cannot talk today. The reciprocal of this would be -4. Multiply all three pieces by -4. Since we are multiplying by a negative number, we are going to flip both of our signs. So -4 times -4 is going to give us a positive 16. Instead of a less than, it's going to become a greater than. -1/4 x times -4, the negative times the negative is going to give us a positive. 1/4 times 4 is going to give us a coefficient of 1, so all we're left with is our x in the middle there. Again, our less than becomes a greater than, and 2 times -4 is -8. One thing that is going to always work out is the two signs, doesn't matter which direction they're facing, but they will always be facing the same direction. You won't ever have anything that they're both going to the middle or both going away. They will always be facing the same direction. All right, so we've got 16 is greater than x is greater than -8. We look at that on a number line. -8 is the most negative. 16 is the most positive. We want our x's are going to be on the smaller side of 16 because our alligator is going to eat the 16, so that means we're shading to the left of 16. And 8 is greater than -8, so that means we're going to be shading to the right of 8. Again, both of those are strictly greater thans, so we're going to have parentheses. So our interval notation solution to this will be parentheses, the interval from -8 to 16 with a parenthesis on both ends. All right, let's look at one more of these. We've got 1/3 is less than or equal to x plus 1 over 7, all over 7 is less than 7/4. So this is a case where we do have two different symbols, but they are both pointing, they are both a less than. It's just one that is strictly less than and one that's less than or greater, less than or equal to. All right, just like we saw in that first example, we can get rid of the fraction by multiplying by our LCD. So 3 times 7 times 4, 3 times 7, 3 times 7 times 4, there's not any common factors anywhere. 3 times 7 is 21, times 4 is 42. So we're going to multiply everything by 42. On the left-hand side, 1/3 times 42 is going to be 28. Let me backtrack just a little bit. 3 times 7 times 4 is 84, not 42. So we've got, this should be 84, 84, and 84. 21 times 4 is 84. All right, now we get 28. 1/3 of 84 is 28. when we do 84 divided by 7, that's going to leave us with 12 that we're going to multiply by that numerator, x plus 1. And then we're going to get 84 divided by 4 is 21 times 7 is 147. And let's go ahead and distribute this 12 in the middle. So we get 28 is less than or equal to 12x plus 12, which is less than 147. We'll subtract 12 from both sides, from all three sides. 28 minus 12 is 16, is less than or equal to 12x, is strictly less than 147, minus 12 is 135, and then divide all of those by 12. 16 over 12 has a common factor of 4, so we'll get 4/3 is less than or equal to x is less than 135 divided by 12 is 45 over 4. And we've isolated our x, so that's going to be our solution. If we look at a graph, 4/3 is the smaller number, that's 1.333. 45/4 is a little bit bigger than 11, and so 4/3 is the most negative. 45/4 is the most positive. We want the ones that are bigger than 4/3, smaller than 45/5. It should work out that if you can write your inequality in a compound inequality like this, your solution's going to be in the middle. The 4/3 we are including an equal to, so that's going to be a square bracket. And the 45/4 cannot be equal, it's strictly less, so that's going to be a parenthesis. So we get square bracket 4/3 to 45/4 with a parenthesis. All right, I'll see you guys next time.